Hello, 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 and welcome to this Final Boss Fight live stream of stuff.
just stuff.
Just things. You know, we're going to stream some stuff and things. This is our world building stream. Hello, and welcome into us building the world of Tamrinor, as you may be able to work out from the giant drafting board that we have as our backdrop for this particular segment of the stream. My name is John, and I am joined by my esteemed colleagues in the Geoff has just resubscribed for 89 months in a row. Council of Tamrinor.
I like that new title.
It's a bit unwieldy, so we might drop it for next time. Ben and Geoff.
Hello.
Hi.
And we are here to finish building the world of Tamrinor, or at least this portion of it, because between sessions, I think it was between sessions, we decided to split the book into multiple chapters of book, multiple releases of book, I should say. So the idea has gone from us releasing the entire Tamrinor, because that's a lot. We're now going to release 4 different smaller books. I say smaller. This book is currently at 96 pages and is likely to break 100 again, with everything we've shrunk down into it. We are going to release a book at UK Games Expo called The Tamrinor Adventurer's Guide to Haven's Coast and Windsfurrow, which will focus on, shocking, hopefully nobody here, Haven's Coast and Windsfurrow, which are two of the locations near each other, neighbouring regions of Tamrinor that have both been affected by the Oak Rebellion, which was the end of the Arda Tour, end of the Bala Tour. They were both spaces that the elves marched into, out of Torgalad and into these two neighbouring regions, and the vicious elves took over, and then in their warmongering way took over, built up garrisons, did some bad stuff to the land, and then were kicked out by the rebellion that included, the halflings. It included some of the elves themselves, who realized that, the leader was pretty bad. The humans and the dwarves all sort of banded together to get rid of the bad stuff that had happened. And also, then it sort of turned into well, now what? Sort of time, and then peace settled across the land, and
Peace broke out,
as it sometimes does, but not too much peace, because obviously there's still reasons to go adventuring. We've got the final copy of the book, or the final draft of the book that we're going through, and I'm proofreading at the moment, and I've got some volunteers that are helping me proofread it, who are not these guys. We're still drafting the book, and so I've got some things that, when myself and my proofreading team have been going through the book, we've gone, it would be nice to have more details about this, that I'm going to throw to you guys and say, what do you guys think about this, and can you help me phrasing and stuff? And I've also got some notes that are just the notes what I have made, where there could be more. And some of that is also things like, I've noted that there are specific places where we need shops of specific kinds. And so while I have gone through some of the places and sort of done generic make up the description of a shop and make up the description of a person that owns the shop and have named that person, I thought, I don't want to do all of this, and so I'm going to throw some of it to you guys and say, you guys name some things.
Okay.
So let's start off with one of the points from the book side of things, one of the points from the manuscript. Under the campaign optional rules, we've got the details of Cassamite and what Cassamite can do, and how people get the Cassamite, which is by mining the Cassamite, but that the supplies of it are strictly regulated, because if you mine all of the Cassamite, it's gone and then there is no more. But if you leave enough of it, the ore regenerates over time. So there's sort of very strict guidelines in place to make sure that there is a steady supply of it, but that it's never depleted.
Very nice.
And one of the things that Sean has suggested would be a funky thing to see in the description of the Cassamite mining process, because I mentioned in the description of Cassamite that it almost hums with arcane power. She has suggested it would be interesting to see that in the mines under Lawfell, which is not one of the places that we're going to be at the moment, but Cassamite is something that will exist in this world, and the refining process does happen in Haven's Coast. One thing that would be interesting to have in the notes is that the mines employ listeners who listen for this audible note of the Cassamite sort of vibrating in the veins. And personally, I really like the idea as well, so I'm glad that you're both on board with it, because then that means I will expand that into full notes as to what that entails. But it also brought to mind, have either of you seen the Lord of the Rings Rings of Power on Amazon Prime?
No.
No, I can't say I have.
Darn, neither had Sean, and you all have sort of grasped onto this idea, and none of you have seen it. But basically in it, it takes place around the time they are forging the rings, which, you know,
Right.
obviously kind of a mythical era of the land of the Lord of the Rings. And one of the characters that you follow throughout the first season and into the second season are the prince of one of the Dwarven kingdoms and his wife. And the prince is the son of the Dwarf King and one of the Dwarven kings who gets one of the Dwarven rings. And obviously some drama occurs because of that. But his wife is a singer to the mines. And so she goes into the mines and she sings, and she and a group of the dwarves sing to the mine. And because of the vibrations, they can work out where it's safe to mine and where it isn't. And so this sort of listeners for the mines really brought that to my mind of a specialized group of people that have this skill set that go into the mines and find where the veins are and ensure that enough of it is left behind, that they are not fully depleting the
Which makes a
stock
lot of
of
sense.
casamite. So okay, I will expand on this. So Ben, have you got
Yes.
something?
So, as a quick little throw together, though, I think we can change some aspect around. For the sake of that little intro block,
Yes.
just to make the whole point a suggestion of our species, our races, or however you would like to define them, I've placed them down as species and creatures. So far, I've just written this little quick one, and we can change around, we can adjust whatever. But please note, we have designed this world to include only creatures and species as we have created them. Therefore, as an example, the only dwarves known to the Tamrinorian populace are the ones that we have introduced in all their rocky goodness. With that said, we are very open for GMs to allow other species to roam our lands, by whatever explanation that tickles your imagination. But we would like to suggest that if you do hold this idea that the other species don't exist here, and that will have ripple effects into the world building as your parties explore. Basically opening up that, yeah, bring in your other creatures, well, your other characters and such forth, by temporal change and shift and such forth, but when they come here, effectively, they will be unknowns. And it's not that when they pop in that there have been an entire amount of species. You could absolutely do that as well. This is only as a suggestion.
So the point I really want to make with this note isn't necessarily that
Yes.
ones that we don't describe aren't here. It's more that the ones that we do describe are the only ones of their kind. So there aren't
Okay.
stony dwarves and fleshy dwarves. There aren't grassy elves or the mushroom gnomes, and also out there are the gnomes.
Okay, I see. So yeah, I can have another little play around and figure onto that side of things.
Cool. Yeah, it's because basically we can't. I mean, we could do something that say make a race of part giants, and we could give them a name, and we could say these are the Goliaths of our world. What we can't do is have Goliath in this book and just reprint the Goliath, because that's not part of the SRD, and we don't have access to that. So, like, where we've got Lacerta that are the lizard folk, we can say, hey, Lacerta, that's our name for the lizard folk. If you want the rules for that, this is the book they're in.
Okay.
Right. One of the other suggestions that Sean had brought up is under our list of elven names, we currently only have 2, and we'd like to see more of those.
What's this one? Sorry, the
Elven names. Hello?
hello.
Yep.
Still not dead yet.
So under the list of examples
we-
of elven names, we have Savari and Tur.
Did we come up with the particular reasoning behind their names, or how we?
Elves tend to take nature-related names such as leaf, acorn, or branch, which, when translated into Elven, typically render them long, elaborate, and elegant.
I think you dropped out there for a second.
Elves tend.
Correct me if I'm wrong there, Geoff. But...
Why? No, I think I heard what you said.
So to say it again for Ben's sake, and just in case anybody else missed it, on Streamland, I hope you didn't, because you're not getting me through Discord. Elves tend to take nature-related names such as leaf, acorn, or branch, which, when translated into Elven, typically render them long, elaborate, and elegant. But then we only have Savari and Tor, which we have a translation for Tor, we don't have one for Savari.
Mm-hmm.
Rogue, you are not helping.
He's not wrong, though. That's what it would translate to.
And effectively, that is along those right lines, though, of going along with the whole thing. Are we sort of twisting them so that they are natural in Elvish, but not necessarily for the sake of how it might be read as we would understand it in what I'm referring to as common, which would be effectively our everyday understanding?
I believe that to be the intention of what we've said, but we've also not given any way for people to translate things into Elvish.
No.
Beyond the fact that we know that Tor
which is the other
means
side of it when it
forest,
comes down to.
Aram
I was going to say, are we
empty.
saying that it's more? Because the only problem with that and saying for the sake of it being a naming convention is if we haven't given them a way to actually make that translation across.
I mean, I'm open to changing I'm open to changing the naming convention, but whatever we do, we need to give some examples of what the naming convention is.
I do like the whole thing of it being based from nature and it holding from that side of things. Just trying to think, because effectively it's almost like taking something from nature and sort of adding a flourish to it. But the other side of things is about the trees, the bits and pieces, and the fauna and such which are already there. Might not be quite the same as we have them, but it would at least allow people to have that thing. So to take Rogue's suggestion of acorn branch leaf, and effectively it's almost like you take that and you twist it.
Well, I mean, the example of acorn branch leaf is literally because the elves tend to take nature-related names such as leaf, acorn, or branch, and Rogue has just taken.
I know where it came from. Don't worry, I got that joke. I got the gist of the joke. But it is a case of, okay, well, taking that as an idea and sort of rolling with it, and sort of taking the joke and let's make it into something real, effective. So that now becomes our example. The acorn branch leaf is our example. How do we turn that into an Elvish name by our species? And the way I'm sort of thinking about it is how it's not necessarily about what it is, it's about how it's pronounced. And that it comes with its own little flourish. So though they are the same name, it's also as if we've gone to a different country and we don't fully understand how their words fit together. And you know how when you start to learn a different language, you break it up and it kind of sounds ever so slightly different. And so for example, with
I'm concerned that might be a bit difficult to do beyond very simple names.
Oh, no. What I mean is more along the lines of, so you take acorn branch leaf and stretch it out a little bit. So acron. So we're chucking in an extra C, put in a little hyphen break with the acon, so it's acron. Branch lift. And it's basically adding little breaks into it. And it gets a bit more of a magical feel, a more elven feel, where it still spells the same. So it is that whole thing of playing with nature, but you just sort of stretch it out. So taking another one, oak, could end up being oak. It still says the same thing, it's just stretched. Which would be a nice, easy naming convention to use, so which anyone could sort of jump in and run some examples. As a point of trying to prove that, Rogue, would you like to try and write a different example of another nature-based thing using this convention of breaking it up so that it just sounds a bit different? And this will be a real test, considering I have no idea whether Rogue's actually going to do this. But
Does this work?
for the sake of throwing out random instructions.
Would that work? I'm just wondering how well that would work written down as a spoken out loud.
Well, as I said, for the sake of the writing down, it's just sort of, yeah. You know,
you could put as many hyphens and apostrophes and stretch out as long as you want, but the moment you say it, you get the joke instantly.
Yes. And that's the thing when it comes down to it. It's like trying to sort of throw this one in. Is don't get me wrong, I'm spitballing here. This isn't something which I'm actually thinking is a brilliant idea. It's literally actually spitballing. More for the sake of something that we can throw in as a convention now, which can work without us having to try and explain every single thing that we've got already, for the sake of our elves' names and what they mean and how the background and how that one works, and so that we have a little bit. What were you going to do there, Rogue? I'm curious now. Because Rogue's just placed in that.
I also don't think phonetically the same.
Well, this is the thing. Technically it's phonetically the same if you read it the way that we read it, whereas if you actually put the breaks and how it twists, but it reads exactly the same, but you can say it differently. And it sort of comes and allows you to sort of say it differently by breaking it up where it wasn't supposed to have the breaking. Do you have actually provided translation
rules? No,
rules?
Rogue, we can't actually provide translation rules for Elvish. We're not making up a full frickin' language.
That's the problem. That's why we're trying to work on this whole side of things of...
No, we're not trying to make up a whole language.
No. We are not trying to create a whole language. This is the reason why I'm trying to sort of do this, taking the nature thing and trying to make it so that it works well enough that we can literally use anything. And we can use, effectively, our common tongue to try and make it work for us. And gone quiet on that side of front as well.
I mean, I think at the moment...
If anyone has any other ideas, I think that'd be wonderful to start spitballing out whatever we've got.
Have you got anything else, Geoff?
Not particularly, no. How do you want to go into this? Because are we losing focus on what we're trying to do for this particular publication?
I mean,
this is the thing when it comes down.
We can't just have elves don't have any guidance as to what to name.
Eevee, yes, there you go. That's the sort of thing which I mean. So,
Eevee... I don't know if I missed something. What's the difference between our elves and the elves that you get in the SRD?
There is no guidance to how to make your names anymore.
They took that out.
It's completely gone now.
Oh, okay.
But I don't understand why. It adds a lovely little bit of character to
because
the
it
different
doesn't add
species
anything
around.
to the rules.
I know it doesn't add anything to the rules, but
That's precisely why
it's
they
the
took
whole
it
bit
out.
of,
You can't hit someone over the head with it.
I know, I
The-
get that, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's just like that was
Yeah.
one of the fun elements. So trying to sort of take a look in, like the Heartlings
Part
would
of-
love to have as many names as possible and all that.
Part of their argument was that if you saw a list of what the names could be, you thought that's the name. Like, if you were a new player, you thought those are the names I get to pick from, not the names I get to be inspired by.
Yes. I can see that as an idea. I can understand that. But
So yeah, the idea is the
yeah.
player's handbook is going to have no guidance to how to name things, because that's the book that's entirely for make the character play the game. Whereas books like the Faerun's Player's Guide and, campaign setting books like, say, the Tamrinor Adventurer's Guide is where that flavor side of the species is going to be. I think for the moment, I will try to work out better ways of writing it down, but
what I mean is, perhaps we should end up sort of throwing in for a different aspect instead, because the examples we had, you said we had Tor, and what was the other one?
Well, at the moment, I've put in Savari, Tor, Akron Branchleaf, Oak Silverbark, and Yivi.
I would like to sort of propose maybe an adjustment on that they have a particular connection to vowels, because a lot of those are really sort of leaning into the Tor, so getting the O and almost like trying to make it sound like the wind, and that the emphasis on the vowels when it comes down to their names as another way to explain where we got Tor from, rather than trying to say that this is all nature-based and Tor is something from nature. And opens up for something where that people can come in and do their own little bits.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think we could
once
work
again
with
trying
that.
to help. Yeah, it's trying to give a convention which works quite nicely, and Oliva, where it's just the emphasis. Once again, going with the whole olive tree, olive tree.
I'll put that in, and I'll work out possibly a different way of writing it later.
Yeah. Once again, I am literally straight into an Oakenroot. Yeah, once again, it sounds lovely.
There we go. Yivi Okonorut. Full name now. Thank you, Rogue. That's ours. Thank you for being here.
Who says being one of our audience doesn't pay off? We just steal your ideas.
To be perfectly clear, Rogue is already credited in the book and has been one of our.
I know.
Has been one of our illustrious proofreading team. Locations. Let's start off with those, because that's the biggest thing. And in fact, I can strike that through there. Starting off in Haven's Coast. I'm going to go through the locations we have and the bits that we need for them before I delve into asking you about locations that aren't currently in the book. because I have suggested that we might need a few more ones. So I don't know if you guys have got anything thought up for that. But let's look at the places that we do have first. Athel's Rest, or Ethel's Rest, was once a glittering retreat for the wealthy elite and now stands as a ghost of its former grandeur. The once pristine boardwalk, or ability to read English, where merchants and nobles once strolled in leisure, is now warped and broken, its wood planks splintered by time and neglect, the air thick with a tang of salt, and the faint musty smell of decay carries the mournful creak of rusted weather vanes. The grand hotels that once boasted opulent suites with sweeping ocean views are crumbling under the weight of the years, their gilded balconies now choked with ivy and salt-stained from the relentless sea air. The great promenade where musicians once played tiddly-om-pom-pom beneath glowing lanterns is eerily silent save for the ceaseless crash of waves against the shore. Basically, it's a seaside town that's gone a bit to shit because a combination of Vectis Haven's industry polluting the water, Cragcliffe going to, declining in nature, has slowly drained the life out of it. And I kind of see it now as this haunted location that adventurers are going to go to that has got potential for there to be like undead or ghosts or treasure hunters going to try and find the lost treasures of Athel's Rest. So I've suggested it's ripe for a plot hook.
Doesn't sound like it, I'll say that much.
I said, I think there's ample opportunity for there to be an adventure hook or two here, either to do with hunting for lost treasure or dealing with an undead infestation, or potentially, and you'll have to pay close attention to this, especially if you're only listening to my voice, or potentially an undead infestation that turns out to be someone wearing a costume to drive down property prices or drive away the meddling kids.
Do we have a Great Dane NPC for this?
Yeah, basically. I think there is the opportunity for us to do a Scooby-Doo plot hook. What do you guys think?
I like that as an idea, to be fair.
What about turning it around so that you think that this is what it is, but it actually this
I was thinking the same sort of thing, that you sort of come across that they are affected.
You play with the expectations,
There is a party of these ones who are trying to get fame and renown and everything which comes from it, from taking down these ones, whereas they're not actually taking anything down. They're more making it look like these people have been doing X, Y, and Z. Perhaps casting a spell so that they confess at the moment they're caught. So actually these pesky kids are the ones which are actually causing more mischief than anything else.
Ooh.
And hiding everything by blaming other people and making them take the blame.
What if that's what they have been doing, but they didn't realize that this was actually an undead threat?
Which would be utterly hilarious, and I think would be a brilliant thing to sort of throw. Exactly. They thought they could get away with doing X, Y, and Z, but it turns out that actually it's going to be a lot more of an issue.
Okay, I'm going to make some notes. A quartet of traveling adventurers has been busting bad deals across the region where property owners and developers have been driving up the prices their new developments with fake ghosts and ghouls. Or so it would seem. The mischief gang. Vilma, Frud, Scooby, Shagoth, and Daphne save the day. Have actually been casting a spell to force a confession from their targets. And thought...
I have... Dilma, Fruit, Scooby, Shagoth, and Daphne saves the day.
To be fair, this does sound like a evil Call of Cthulhu investigator party.
It does, doesn't it? I have had a rework on the note on species, by the way.
Okay.
So this one's a lot shorter, more succinct, and it is a... Please note, the species we have described are the only variations of their species within Tamrinor as it stands. However, we do encourage homebrewing of different variations if you feel so inspired to do so. But these are the ones that we built this world with. So effectively saying, this is what we have. We're not saying there are any other variations, but if you want to try and do that, it's up to you.
Okay, yeah, send me that and I'll pop it in and see how it looks.
Yeah. I mean, we can rework it or change it around a touch or whatnot, but it effectively feels like a nice, simple enough sort of thing. Oh.
So Saltwind.
Mm-hmm.
Saltwind is a fishing village, or was a fishing village, that was a little bit too close to Staros and has now become a smuggling hub.
Okay.
Rogue, we don't need more names. You can stop with names now. Thank you. Except I am going to ask for names in a minute. Well, I mean, okay,
You may not. I'm having fun. I mean, if you're having fun, just carry on. The chancellor will just say they're going to try and take these somewhere. This becomes a new thing that anyone who's in the chat, please do throw in as many names and bits and pieces that you like. We'd like to see them all.
Player options. So with Saltwind, we currently have Saltwind has a damp, dim tavern near its rotting docks that reeks of stale ale and old fish. Lit by flickering lamps and hosts a motley mix of smugglers and desperate souls. Deals are struck in hushed tones and rumours link the tavern to illicit trade because, I mean, most of the town is, really.
Yeah.
So the tavern is called the Drowned Rat. 2 real points to Saltwind on the Notion doc are... do we have any other important buildings or people to go in this town? Would there be like a general store or...
I mean, a shop makes sense. It does make sense. I'm trying to think along the lines of that lovely the drowned rat, which I would love for the drowned rat to actually have a story behind it, that the drowned rat actually was the reason why the bar's there in the first place. Is they found that drowned rat and it happened to have a gem inside it, and they thought it was a perfect analogy for their town. You know, there is a gem here, but it's our gem. Let's see. So let's see now. I would love her to have a name like What You Want. It's like, this place isn't nice, it isn't all this. What do you want? Just get it, go. We will get what you want, or maybe perhaps better, what you need.
I'm putting it with just the letter U.
Just thinking of a just thinking along the lines of a general store. How about a market?
I mean, a market would make sense as well, especially for fishing. And I mean, I would love to place it down, but effectively there is a market, but the only real market which actually gets anything, it gets more like the dark market the further in you go. So it starts off as up and up so that you can try and keep anybody who's nosy out. But the deeper you go in, the more nefarious it can get. You know someone who introduced the rat person by being washed up on shore. I like that.
The other note I have for Saltwind is we've got a lot of places where the place name starts with S on Haven's coast. Because we've got Staros, we've got Sunbreeze Spires, we've got Saltwind, and we've got South Haven. So, can we think of a name that doesn't begin with S for Saltwind?
So with Saltwind, are we talking about along the coastline? Are we talking about?
It is along the coastline.
Literally in there for this. Okay. Let's see. Crescent. Have we got anything Crescent in there?
Not at the moment.
Whitecliff. Whitecliff's not a bad one, actually.
I like Whitecliff. See, we did need names, but we needed to give you the briefing for the name, Rogue.
Let's see.
Group name generator configured. So who owns What You Need?
Yeah. I'm feeling when it comes down that this has got to be it's a person. It has to be.
I think it does have to be a person. Yes.
Oh,
really?
Brain go out window, come back.
It's so, much more preferable when a person owns a building to say like a pot plant.
No, the building owns itself.
I mean, not unreasonable in some towns, but
I'm feeling once again one of those bits of sort of throwing in that they're trying to sound worse than they are, so that effectively they gain reputation for the sake of going on. So we're
Okay.
talking like, just trying to think like Mad Skeevers or something like that. When it came down to, there was someone called Mad Skeever in Skyrim I came across once, and it's like that's the image I have in my mind that they are.
Is it? Sorry,
Going on
Ben.
with
Just to
the mad.
is it mine or is it
Yes.
Ben's that's cutting out?
Oh,
Geoff.
I can hear you consistently, John.
Okay.
am I dropping out?
A little bit from me, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that puts me at ease, but it doesn't help other things. I like the idea of it being someone.
No, it doesn't.
I like the idea of it being somebody who is trying to sort of. They've got to maintain a bad rap because of the town they're in. And it's like they're desperately trying to be this grim, dark, not grim, but like this dark, edgy person. Because if they're not this dark, edgy person, the town is going to turn against them. Which does work well with something like mad ...
Bloody Charlie. The only thing is that sort of comes with two tones to it. You got Bloody Charlie sounding really terrible. Oh, bloody Charlie.
Mad Hands.
How about Moon Eye? I was going to throw in Moon Eye. That I just imagine him putting in a lens, a contact lens of sorts, which has been designed to sort of blur out his eye, so it looks. He has created the look, and it's more like a charismatic charlatan than he is anything else.
Okay.
I don't know what Moon Eye something, Moon Eye whatever, and the good thing with that one is
I'm gonna throw the name in there. Mad Hands Moon Eye.
Ooh, actually, no, that works quite nicely.
He is an aging human. A human with some.
He am human.
A human with some grey hairs starting to show around his temple. He claims to have.
I think that it's me with the bad internet at the moment.
Venturer, and that is where he lost his eye and gained a prosthesis. I can spell that word. No, I can't. Spell checker would help me if spell checker worked in Notion. Apparently it doesn't. That's nice to know.
Ben Badwebs sounds like a poorly trained spider. Yes, it does.
Damn it, Ben Badwebs. Mad Hands Moon Eye. Oh, no, that was not the right button to press. That was the right button to press. Mad Hands Moon Eye, a human with some grey hairs starting to show around his temple. He claims to have been an adventurer, and that is where he lost his eye and gained a prosthesis that makes his left eye look like the silver disc of Nor. I'll try to. put in a note that's like, has a reputation that he attempts to maintain around the town. And let's see how that note goes. Apparently, while I'm at it, I'm going to spell check some of the other words. The spell checker is underlining but not fixing the spelling of.
Fair enough. That's an interesting concept. Do we have any companies which would be around in different locations? I'm shy of the library system. Do we have any companies which would be effectively like our co-op Morrison's, stuff like that, which would be trying to pop up all around?
We haven't put any in yet.
The only reason I asked that one is just to say I came up with, I just spotted something which just made me giggle for a second and just went. So a suggestion which came up for the sake of a company name, which was Microstone. So rather than Microsoft, I'm just imagining the dwarves have they have a very particular business for fine stonework, very fine, tiny details. So they go for the whole point of we are the Microstone. And my mind immediately started running with that. And I was like, do we actually have anything which would try to do something like that?
I mean, we did have a note in the... We did have a note in the original documentation that was... one second. I need to open the Obsidian now.
To be fair, the thought which I had was just imagining a wizard of sorts who had just basically cloned themselves, and they organize and run each of the different stores, and it's always the same store, but it's every one is done differently depending on the location. That you can throw in that your party might want to just go try and find this particular store, which seems to pop up all over the place.
We had a note in the book, in the notes to expand section, of the Sunfawn coffee. That was basically somebody else's pun on Starbucks. Sunfawn.
Oh, yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. I mean, effectively, you can make that one of the things that they like to sell is an energizing. You can throw it in, potentially gives you a potential for haste or something like that.
But I mean, I like the idea of a magic shop that has branches in, not everywhere, because I think the thing is, we like magic is rare still, but has got multiple branches.
Yes. It is something which, rather than it actually being something which has already taken over the market and gone everywhere, it's more like something starting. Because then it also gives the opportunity for any GM, as they're playing it, to decide that, actually, we're going to introduce this one here. It's only starting up or something like that. So it doesn't necessarily have everything that you're after, but it will have some of the bits and pieces while you're trying.
So Sunbreeze Spire, or sorry, Seabreeze. Can't remember. Is it Sunbreeze or Seabreeze? Somewhere's breeze. It's breezy somewhere.
I mean, Seabreeze sounds very familiar, but
Seabreeze. I've written it down wrong in the Notion file.
The worst part about it being fantasy.
So in Seabreeze, that is exactly, Rogue, why we have just changed the name of Saltwind. We just covered this. You renamed the place. So in Seabreeze, Seabreeze is a nice sun-drenched seaside resort town where you can go and have a nice holiday break. It's got a halfling tavern called the Honeycomb Hearth. It's got a goblin water slide park called the Splashback Cove. The Honeycomb Hearth is run by, unsurprisingly, the Honeycomb family. Elnora Honeycomb and her human husband Angus, who is often mistaken for a halfling because of his short stature. And they are assisted by their eldest daughter Leora and their son Finwick, and their three younger daughters Shani, Winnie, and Mayella are too young to actually work in the tavern. So for Seabreeze, I need the description of a general store. And then I need a general store owner and also the name of the goblin owner or owners of the Splashback Cove. So, Ben, Geoff, describe the general store.
I kind of want to make it a little variation of a coastal gift shop, effectively. It has trinkets and novelties. It does still have the things that you need, but they are, because once again, this is a
I just like the idea that it's just completely disorganized. There's like no
as
like
every
no
good seaside shop is. It has no organization. It is a difficult one to sort of figure yourself around.
I'm picturing it's a slightly aged building that's been painted some garishly bright color, but the paint has aged and is starting to chip off of the front of the building. And it's either like
forever meaning to update it and redo it. And
it's either a pink or a white or a blue. What do you think? Pink, white, or blue?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to say the same sort of thing where it's almost like depending on which angle you're looking at it, the flaking paint seems to take on a different illumination.
Nobody can agree on what color it is.
Exactly. I'm not afraid to have a stupid name where it's like wants desperately to use honeydew, but they're not allowed to. So they're trying to twist it around as best they can so they can use it. Like dew of honey or something like that. But just sort of say that I know that honeydew is such a good name and gets the attention. Oh God, as well.
Spire gifts.
Spire gifts.
Ooh. The Spire gift shop.
Oh no. Inspire gift shop.
Oh, inspired gift. And you just think it's a gift shop that's Inspire. What's the joke?
Yeah.
So
just
we're
said a thing. All the novelties you'd love to throw in there now.
Inspire gift shop. In hyphen spire hyphen D gift shop.
At least that way we kind of get away from just using the S again.
Okay, so
we've come to learn now that all fantasy names are better with an S at the front.
Saragorn.
Oh.
Slegolas.
Mm.
Slimly.
Who owns the shop?
For the sake it's going nicely chaotic, I kind of want Goblin.
I think with my headcanon is that this was opened by an elf whose common isn't good enough to recognize the pun.
Unless it's along the lines of like, okay, so the elf opened it with the help of some of the more, where they're effectively using the fact that they don't really understand the pun to use the pun.
So it's
but they never actually thought it was going to be done when it just happened, you know.
It's an elf and a gnome, then.
That's good.
And the gnome thought the elf would see the pun and be like, no. 3 kobolds in a trench coat.
Yeah. But, yeah, I kind of like that. Where, yeah, the gnome just almost like throwing it out like a joke. Didn't expect anything to sort of come from it. Well, I like the whole thing where you've now created a dynamic that the gnome will come up with some cocky, funny answer, and the elf might take it seriously all the time. We're starting a sitcom in our game. It's the Odd Couple. Oh, you could love that side of things. The random quotes and bits and pieces. Oh, I could marry you. I thought we were married.
The shop is owned by a married elf and a gnome. The gnome is witty and sarcastic, but the elf doesn't notice and doesn't understand the pun name of the shop. Is the elf the male or the female? Is this a heteronormative couple or not?
I mean, I think we could give that one to a roll of the dice. Because I can see this in all manner of iterations. I don't think it really matters.
What size of dice?
So if we are going to go for,
I mean, do we want to do odds and Rogue is assuming business partners. With, I just like the idea that they have the pun. Ooh,
oh yeah,
male elf NB gnome.
Ooh.
I'm going to put my dice tray away again.
See, this is why we had the comment section.
Non-binary. God, I'm sounding like Donna from the end of Doctor Who. Binary. Non-binary gnome. The gnome is witty and sarcastic, but the elf doesn't notice. Do they have any other physical characteristics we want to throw into their description?
Very similar to the location which are in the. I would love for them in trying to keep with that almost like seasidey sort of feel that they wear bright and gaudy clothes. Very similar, almost like to the building itself, where it's outdated.
What you just put me in mind of now is Arkwright in Granville.
I was gonna say the elf is Arkwright. Like the elf has like the prim uniform, the nice apron, and the gnome is bright and gaudy.
Yes, effectively, it was like trying to give character into this place, playing off the pun, as it were. I'm afraid to say, I think I'm going to have to leave because, Beck is playing around a bit more than it wanted. But it has been a pleasure, and hopefully I'll leave you to good decisions. Don't you laugh like that? That's not a good sign. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, I'll leave the stream first, and then I'll get out the voice chat. There we go. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Remember. Oh, no, not that one. That one. Okay, so what are their names?
Oh, boy.
I feel that we've just named, like, we've just had a couple of elf names thrown out that we haven't assigned to anyone yet. So would we like this to be an Oak Silverbark? Or an Ivy Oakenroot?
My thoughts just went somewhere else. Is this a primarily human town?
It's sort of... It's designed to be the mix, like, as close to a, even town as possible.
Okay.
But what were your thoughts?
I was thoughts that maybe at least the elf maybe changed his name to try and blend in a bit more. Only like the whole Ford prefect idea.
Okay, so he tried to change his name to
something commonplace, but it went wrong.
Carter.
Yeah. Carter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ford prefect. And what's our gnome's name?
Gnome isn't have any truck with that. Gnome is...
So, as a reminder, in case you need to remember what the gnome naming convention is, they typically describe a plant. So, we've got the example names Satin Hat, Soft Carpet, and Sweet Sniffer.
Ooh. Daffodil? Are we actually thinking proper plants, or are we?
So the idea is that they have a. So each of those names, Satin Hat describes tulips, Soft Carpet describes moss, Sweet Sniffer describes honeysuckle. Okay. So it's like you take a plant or a flower and you describe that in some way, but it's also in a nice, positive way.
Okay. Thinking something with the name Noble in it.
Okay.
Noble. I just want to say noble barn, but that's that's a different joke. Noble horn.
Yes.
Yep.
Is that noble hyphen horn or noble horn one word?
Oh, all one word. All one word.
All one word. Oh, look, the spell checker's upset with that.
Or maybe because he's a shopkeeper, maybe noble price. Nobel Prize.
Just going to keep the Google window open so that I can correct my spelling as well. Okay, so we've then got the goblin owners of the Splashback Cove, which is like the water slide. What are they like?
Health and safety is a suggestion to them. They heard it. They heard it once and didn't want any trouble with it.
Yep. What was I looking for? So, goblin naming convention is that they're named after their accomplishments. Their idea is a large net that is loose on the ground. I mean,
I just kind of want. I kind of want them to be like, want them to be called like 9 days.
9 days.
Yeah, 9 days since our last accident. That's what counts. That's what counts as an accomplishment for them.
Okay, I'm going to throw in. How about we also have much too swift? Health and safety is a vague notion for them. Any other description of these two?
Always praising their rides, trying to get people into the biggest rides possible.
Biggest, newest, shiniest.
Shiniest ride, yeah.
Right.
That's important for them.
Yes. I feel that this couple is just business partners.
Okay, yeah.
They misunderstood health and safety, so one of them wears an elf costume, including a hard hat. I like that. I do like the idea of a goblin with like the floppy goblin ears, just having like a fake elf ear, like one looped over one of their ears, one just stuck to the side of the hat. 9 days, wears a hard hat because that promotes health and safety.
Again, they've got no idea what it is, but they promote it because yay.
enjoy this bit of me typing because, you know.
Tap 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 tap
Tap,
tap
tap,
tap
tap, 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 tap.
tap 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 tap.
I'm just going to put a little space in there and a little space in there to remind me that those are the bits that need to be added to the book. Your bits are on hold until this typing is completed. Please wait. Okay. Next up, we move into Windsfurrow.
Mm-hmm.
And in Coggosmoot, we need a blacksmith and a description of their forge, whether that's male, female, probably a goblin, but not necessarily.
I was thinking a dwarf.
A dwarf? Yeah. Okay. Would help if I could spell dwarf. So, I mean, that instantly tells us that they are a non-binary because all dwarves are that. Because they have single gender. What about a thingy touched, an Antari touched blacksmith? We may come back to thingy touched. What is this blacksmith like? Paint me a word picture, Geoff.
Oh boy. I just think he never leaves the smithy because he never has to. He just constantly, we just like hear constant hammering. People think he's actually like part of it. He's just like part of the ground.
They're blonde and hot like the smith in Monster Hunter Wilds. Okay. So our dwarven names are onomatopoeic. Clunk, plip, thunk, tink.
Clank. This guy's going to be called Clank, I think.
Clank. And then their Huon name, as we have called it, because we're very smart, I think. Describing either the place of their creation or the material from which they are formed. So we have Clunk, Granite Huon, and Plip of Stone's Grave as examples.
Clank. Ooh, what's a good name? What's the stone that you get? Clank iodite. That seems like a good name.
How spell?
You play Minecraft, John. You know how to spell iodite, surely. I think it's iodite. Which one's the Minecraft stone? Is that?
There's diorite.
Diorite. That's probably the one I'm thinking of. Clank diorite.
Diorite. Just diorite or diorite Huon?
I think diorite on its own just sounds good.
Okay. Clank diorite What is the name of the smithy?
I just get the idea he wouldn't go for fancy names. He would just like call it Smith or something.
Clank's Anvil?
Thanks, Anvil. Go on then. Yep.
Okay, let's think about the building itself. It's a simple building, I assume, because they have to keep rebuilding bits of it because explosions and things.
That seems reasonable.
A simple stone brick building which shows evidence of patching the holes caused by explosions from both inside and out. Some of the older bricks are stained black with soot and charcoal. Anything else we want to mention?
Its furnace is like hotter, like the depths of a volcano in there.
Clank prides himself on keeping the hottest forge outside of the volcanic Iron Spine Mountains. Okay. Oakgate. Oakgate is a settlement that quietly rests on the northern border of Windsfurrow, nestled just before the towering expanse of the Trieste Mountains. The village was once a waypoint for travellers and merchants seeking... Ooh, if it's really hot, maybe the forge has a wind catcher. Do you mean like a thing for funneling wind into the forge, Rogue? Is that what we're saying? I'll wait for you to respond to that. The village took its name. The village, once a waypoint for travellers and merchants entering or leaving the elven-controlled lands, took its name from the grand Balatur Gate that marked the Empire's reach. Though the gate and its adjoining wall now stand in crumbling ruin, overgrown with ivy and weathered by centuries of wind and rain, they remain a silent reminder of the Empire's former presence. Because it's been like nearly 300 years, so it's like it's a ruin, but it's still there because we still have Hadrian's Wall and stuff.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay, I like that idea. Basically, the town has sort of been described as resilient. They've sort of taken the bones of this elven town and scraped away the elven iconography and rebuilt it. And yeah, that's Oakgate. We have the town inn is called the Elderstone Inn and is built from some of the stones of the gate and wall itself. But instead of the elegant elven iconography, symbols of freedom are entwined with oak leaves, and the visages of local heroes mark the wall of the Elderstone Inn. There is notes in the notes I made of a marketplace and a blacksmith. So I need a description of a marketplace and a blacksmith, and a name for a marketplace and a blacksmith. And then also we need a description for the blacksmith.
A marketplace and a blacksmith.
The blacksmith, as well as I figured it might be an idea to have like 2 market stall holders that we can have as sample NPCs. So I suggested a farmer who sells like their farmed goods, their fruit and veg stand, and a general goods merchant who's like the general store of Oakgate is this guy's stand. Although I am also slightly liking the idea that Oakgate Market has one of these franchised magic stalls. The Microstone magic stall. And it's like you go there and you meet the guy and the guy's there and it's it's whoever it is, but then when you go to the next town over, they've got a shop. It's the same guy. Why is he here? And you go back to Oakgate and it's like, well, he's there now as well. He's in both places. Yeah. So let's start with the blacksmith.
What would this one be?
So this is a small town. It's not a huge settlement. It's a out of the way little town.
So probably just, I think, like a wooden build, some sort of wooden building then, maybe.
It's an old. The only description we have at the moment is the old blacksmith with calloused hands hammers a red-hot sword. As a young farmer sells his crops in the market. So an old human, I'm going to go with.
Old human, yeah. Old human.
Old human is a lot easier than old, most other things.
Maybe the blacksmith is a stone building that's attached to the stables. Or there's like stables there for horses.
Oh, the blacksmith works in a small stone building attached to the livery yard. Yes, Rogue, by the way, to get back to your point, yes, it's the Nurse Joy analogy. And you can probably work out what Rogue and I are talking about from that. Blacksmith works in a small stone building attached to the livery yard, where he mostly makes horseshoes and other farming implements, but keeps a small supply of weapons and armor in case someone wants to head out into the dangerous world. I feel like he's this grizzled old guy that's just like, he knows he can't stop the people doing it.
Mm.
He doesn't want to encourage them by having a lot of armor and weapons and things. But he doesn't want them to head off into the world and be completely unprotected. You know?
Mm. I'm just thinking kind of like the Jason Nog type of character who has to shoot everything you bring to him.
What's his name?
Oh boy. Old man. Something going straight into something beginning with M there. Old
Ooh.
man.
Yes, Rogue.
Ooh.
Rogue has suggested if the smithy doesn't have a name yet, the hammer and nail fits someone who doesn't want to sell weapons.
Hmm.
Old man Soot. Rogue is suggesting Mark Black.
Hmm. Old man Soot Mark Black. Soot Mark Black.
So Old Man Soot would be the nickname. Mark Black is his real name.
Hmm.
I could go with Mark Black. I mean, it might be a little bit on the nose, but then, you know, it's a fantasy name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, For the farmer, how about something like Barnaby or Barnum? Are you still with me, Geoff? Yes, you are.
I'm still with you, just about, yep. Barnaby seems alright, yep.
Barnaby, Crouch. Barnaby, Crouch. Barnaby Green is a young, idealistic farmer who sells his crops at the market. He's heard rumors about people disrupting the produce stands, other marketplaces, and keeps a careful eye on adventurers.
Doesn't trust those adventurers. They're not from round here.
Okay, Geoff, give me the goods merchant, general goods merchant.
General goods merchant. Let's have a. Let's have another human for this one, actually. And let's say Gregor. Mine's just gone blank now.
Dimitri.
Dimitri, yeah.
Dimitri. Gregor Dimitri. He'll get you what you need. Give me a physical description of him. What's he look like?
Well built, probably average height, well built, thick beard, bald head, dresses in the finest clothes he can afford.
Yes, Rogue, that is 2 first names. Next question.
I kind of like the idea that he says yes to everything, even if he doesn't have it. He is the yes, we have no bananas person.
Okay, I like it. I like it. What's the market itself look like? Is it a daily market? Is it a few times a week market? Is it
Probably a few times a week because you need the chance for the farmers to get in with their stuff.
Is it an indoor market, an outdoor market?
Outdoor market, I think, for this one. Outdoor market centered around a tree.
An old oak tree. A couple of times a week?
Yeah, yeah. The old oak market.
Are the stalls all similar, or are they a mismatch? Like, is it like everybody has a market stand they go to and they set up their things on it, or do they bring their own stand? So it's like a mismatch of stands.
I think some would. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a mix. It's like some have their own long-standing stands there, and others just like bring theirs as they need to.
Okay. So before we wrap up, as I feel that we've got to that point where we're nearly at a point to wrap up, let's go back to the broad stroke side of things. For Haven's Coast, I said in my notes that it would probably be an idea to have at least a settlement or possibly two that aren't immediately on the coastline, because at the moment almost everywhere is on the coast. And or reliant on the sea. Like, there's fishing villages, there are trading villages, there's, do you have any ideas for anywhere that isn't immediately sea-based?
Oh, I did just have one called Amber Meadows, which is like a few miles inland. It's a farming village, probably somewhat forested, and their main exports would be fruit and wood. And their wood is probably famed for its, well, there's still going to be like high salt content because they're still quite near the sea. But their wood is actually stronger for it. Is that a thing? The salt for the unique quality of their wood being so near the sea, maybe. I don't know if that's an actual thing.
Okay. Any other details about it?
Just a simple village, probably a dozen or so houses. They're probably their own little farmers market. It's just like, it's mainly like for trading with the with the coast. So they do get fish, but they also trade wood for it as well. It's not imports of strong wood, it's exports. Sorry, I should have said exports, not imports.
Yeah. I should have. I had also thought exports and then wrote imports. That's the wrong way wound.
Yep.
Wrong way wound. With a farmer's market that sells the local produce once or twice a week, once or twice a month. It's not that common.
But yeah.
Amber Meadows is a farming village a few miles inland with their famed exports of strong wood and fruit. It's a simple village with a dozen or so houses and a farmer's market that sells the local produce once or twice a month. Does it have a tavern?
Probably just a small tavern. It's probably like tavern stroke general store. It's like that size of thing.
What sort of are we thinking? It's a small mixed village? Is it particularly one race or one species?
No, it could be mixed. I think mixed would make sense.
Any others?
Well, one thing I was thinking, maybe we want to come up with just like generic towns and villages that can be slotted in anywhere when the need arises.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, my idea with this is that we're sort of doing the big broad strokes places.
Mm.
And if your character is from the big broad strokes places, that's fine, and you pick one of these. But if your character is not from one of those, you make it up and you put it in yourself.
Mm.
And I'm also thinking that's something that when we start running the games that are going to take place in Tamrinor, we're going to start getting those places. So I don't necessarily want to come up with a lot of generic places that we can slot in anywhere at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the idea that when we do the future copies of this book, it'll have like the smaller towns that are next to the big town that people's characters have come from.
Mm.
Alongside, obviously some people are going to make people that come from the big places. Do you have any ideas of places for Windsfurrow?
Not right now.
Okay. Cool. I think that's a decent amount of notes that I now need to make into other notes to go into the book. That is almost certainly these notes are going to push our book over 100 pages. Oh boy.
Mm.
I don't want to think what this is going to make the final book. That's going to be fun for a few years' time. That is going to be an interesting time. Okay. I think it's now time for us to end this stream, Geoff.
I think so, yeah.
So I'm going to say once more to the camera, snooze this advert break.
How many times have you said that?
A few more times than I'd like, but you know, we do keep doing this where we end just before an advert break starts. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, please do hit that follow button. It's a great way for you guys to know when we go live. A completely free way that you can help us on the channel. It really does mean a lot to us. We have a Discord you can join to chat with us about the games we're playing and things that we're doing. We have a YouTube channel that you can go to catch up on all of the things that we do, all of the things that we've done. I think almost all of the episodes of the Council of Tamrinor are up on YouTube now. I think we don't have any in the backlog at the moment. I could be wrong. But look at the YouTubes. You can see all of the stuff that we've done from beginning to now. And we will continue this journey, although possibly we'll take next month off because the book will be at the printers and I will want to rest for a little while after the crunch time of finishing a book. So we might take a month or two off of counselling for, you know, maybe counselling. What else do I say at this point? We have a website, finalbossfight.co.uk, that you can go to catch all of the stuff that we do, and you'll be able to get notes on the book itself from there, and the events that we're going to, such as UK Games Expo, where we will be selling this book. So tune in for all of that fun times. And hopefully, if you're going to UK Games Expo, we'll see you there. But also, we have these following streams coming up. Tomorrow night, it is the Rime of the Frost Maiden. where the group are going to be continuing the hunt through Ithrin for the last 4 sections of the Rite of the Octad that will let them into the central spire of the town. On Monday night, not listed on the schedule because we didn't expect it to need a part 2, but it is going to be part 2 of the Discworld Adventures Up in Smoke. Or should be part 2 of that, assuming everybody is around and well enough for us to continue that. And also, I don't get too lightheaded from doing the lispy voice of Constable Igorina, which was definitely a concern after last time. Wednesday this week, it is going to be midweek Minecraft, and we will continue Minecrafting. We're probably going to be hopefully setting up a actual train to run. But I mean, also first, I probably need to build automation.
Train.
I need to build the automation to make the train parts, because we've got the train tracks, which is an important step in the train building process. But the next step is building both the train station stops and the train itself. And that needs a little bit of automation that I don't currently have running. So stay tuned to Wednesday's stream for that. And then Saturday next week should be movie night, and I need to check in with Sean as to what movie we're going to watch this week. And by this week, yeah, this week, next week. So stay tuned for us to remember what movie we're going to watch. For now, it's raiding time.
Woo!
And we are going to raid someone. That's how this raiding time thing works. I do enjoy their pun, so we are going to raid into Carpe Diem Live, who are currently playing a game called Murder at Mistmire Manor. D&D fun times. Go give Carpe Diem some love. We'll see you guys again real soon. For now, so long. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.